Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Poetry Project's 25-hour New Year's Day marathon. I'm Kyle DeQuinn, and I'm the Executive Director of the Poetry Project. We are in for a ride, and before we get into all of it, I want to share some important notes on accessibility. This podcast is being presented via Crowdcast at poetryproject.org/marathon, as well as through our YouTube Live and Facebook Live channels. You can simultaneously access an Otter live transcription across any of these platforms, and there are embedded captions for all of our pre-recorded material on YouTube Live. We are in the excellent hands of different staff, volunteers, and moderators. So while I fully anticipate something over the next 25 hours will not go according to plan, I also have faith that whatever happens will become its own kind of course. And I know from past marathons that sometimes the surprises are what make this event so special. Here, where I'm speaking from, there's only 1 hour left in the period of space-time we have known as 2020. But the truth is that there are people tuning into this broadcast from all over the world, literally every continent except Antarctica. And while I so wish we could all be together in the sanctuary of St. Mark's, as we have been for the 46 New Years prior, I also am really profoundly encouraged that we are gathered in this way tonight as we've never been before, in the company of friends and beloveds and strangers in the different past and future time zones of one another. We know that psychically, elementally, our Church of Poetry exceeds the bounds of physical geography, and at the same time, we recognize how central St. Mark's Church in the Bowery has been to our community and history. We are committed to continuously and critically engaging the history and future of our presence in this particular space. And as part of that, we would like to acknowledge that our venue, as well as the place where I am speaking from tonight, is built upon unceded Indigenous lands, specifically the territory of the Lenape people. We recognize the continual displacement and violence perpetrated against Indigenous people and people of color by the US, and are aware that these kinds of acknowledgements can be misused as stand-ins for actual decolonization work, which is something for us to bear in mind as we go forward in our ongoing commitment to accountability, reparation, and equity. We invite you to join us in this work from all of the different places where you are, and would like to mention the resource offered at nativeland.ca, not as an endorsement of this resource's completeness, but as a starting place for those we hope might feel encouraged to consider in new ways the histories of the places where we are. This event is a celebration of poetry, but it is also a celebration of time. Poetry and time keep happening, and they keep happening in ways that outsmart all our human appetite for meaning and clarity and purpose. That freedom of unknowing inspires me, and I think it inspires you too. And I love that we keep doing this, even when it seems like there are 1,000 reasons we shouldn't or can't. So please, for the next 25 hours, show your gratitude to the incredible, brilliant, nimble, enormously generous staff of the Poetry Project who do this work honestly and profoundly with so much love. Andrea Abikaram, Will Ferris, Laura Henriksen, Roberto Montes, Nicole Wallace, thank you for all of the gifts you share with our community throughout the year. Thank you to Vince Simo of Empowered Streaming for bringing this improbable volume of work together into a continuous broadcast. Thank you to our board and volunteers, and thank you especially to the more than 250 people who have contributed something to the totally wild trip we are about to experience for the next 25 hours. This event so embodies the kind of cultural space we're after at the Poetry Project, and it endures because that space is necessary, unpredictable, unwieldy, unbridled, utterly and endlessly new, and manifest from the kind of collectivity that intuitively comes forth. Year after year, the funds from this event have sustained that energy of space. So while we have made this broadcast free to access, we hope truly that you will consider helping us reach our goal over the next 25 hours. Our fundraising goal is crucial to addressing the serious losses we've faced over the last year. The poets, writers, and artists we present sacrifice much material security to produce vital and risk-taking work, and we cannot sustain them without your support. We're just over a third of the way in reaching our marathon goal now, and you can help us get there by contributing through the donate platform beneath the broadcast. And with that, I want to turn over to our performances.
One second. Okay. If I had known, if I had known that was going to be the last time that I would see you in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church, oh my God, I would have brought so much more to the table. If I had known, I would have brought so much more to the table. If I had known, I would have brought so much more to the table. I would have brought snacks for you, not just me. I would have brought snacks for you, but the right kind of snacks. No nuts, no legumes, no nightshades. I would have walked around the corner, and I would have gotten some huge bag of just room temperature for you, the right kind of snacks. Oh God, if I had known that was going to be the last time that I would see you in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church, do you know what I would have brought? I would have brought references. I would have gone downstairs. I would have gone downstairs. I would have brought back up stacks of the books. I would have gone into the stacks of the books. I would have brought up stats for you. I would have gone downstairs if I had known. I would have gone downstairs if I had known and brought you references if I had known. If I had known that was going to be the last time that I would see you in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church, I wouldn't have been so focused on me. I have to go to the bathroom. Me next. I'm next to the bathroom line. I have to go to the bathroom line. What about my turn? What about me? I would have been. We could start the interaction over. If I had known, we could start the interaction over and start like this. Hey, but it would have been warm. But not too warm, not too cool, not too poetic. The right kind of hey, the right time of hello. We could have right then and there in the bathroom line of St. Mark's Church, we could have started a whole family. Do you realize that? We could have started a family. We could decide who's who are you, who's me, and then who is me to you, and who is you to me, and we could decide what time, how we do that, and what time we do it, and how it feels, and who does what, and who's who. We could have started a family right there in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church. You can do a lot in a little amount of time, and we could have used that time if we knew it was the last time that we'd see each other in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church. What I wish I had said. What I wish I had said. What I wish I had done. What I wish I had brought to the table. What I wish we had built that could have lasted. What I wish we had built that could have lasted if we had known. If we had known that was going to be the last time that we'd see each other in the bathroom line at St. Mark's Church. Oh my God, I would have just enjoyed it with you. We could have just been there in silence. Nobody say anything. Nothing to do, nothing to get, nowhere to go, nowhere to arrive except for the bathroom. Me first or you first, whoever. It doesn't matter. Nothing to fix, nothing to prove.
Thank you, Diamanda Galas and Banu Kapil and Morgan Bassichis. We had originally envisioned that this hour of the marathon would be happening live at St. Mark's Church. It's not possible because I have COVID. So we're gathered here in this way tonight, and I'm super grateful that we've still got 4 live performances coming up. And our first is from Yoshiko Chuma. Yoshiko Chuma is a conceptual artist, choreographer, and artistic director of the School of Hard Knocks. She is an artist on her own journey, a path that has taken her to over 40 countries with more than 2,000 collaborators, starting the School of Hard Knocks in 1980. She's going to be performing tonight to music by Dane Terry. Please welcome Yoshiko Chuma. We love you, Yoshiko. Thank you. Our next performance is coming from Jayson P. Smith. Jayson is an interdisciplinary artist, writer, and curator, and founder of the Nomad Reading Series, as well as a former Emerge Surface B Fellow at the Poetry Project, a friend, a light, and an inspiration to all who encounter them. Thank you and welcome to Jayson P. Smith.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Kyle. Thank you to the Poetry Project and Yoshiko, Pamela, Penny, everyone I'm reading with tonight. Real quick, since we're not in person, and usually I take this time to do this in person, the Poetry Project absolutely shaped my journey as an artist for the last 5 years. And they've been a continual source of support, and they are in a moment where a lot of veils are being uncovered. I think that I've experienced them as a space that truly walks the walk and truly creates the spaces in which like artists can really thrive and do so for a really long time. And I'm a result of that process. And I just wanted to offer that in the space before I toss these poems up and get out of your way. If you have the means, I know it's really hard right now, but please support their mission in any way you can. Share, donate, do what you gotta do. But yeah, enjoy these poems. I love y'all and thank you for sharing the space with us tonight. Okay, cool. This is a new one. Young Nigga, the album. I'm a primary consumer of poisons masked as syllogism, made of a fondness I hug with terrible incentive. On the far side of acquisition, unsympathetic seasons remain. Did you ever think that you would be this rich in synonyms for property, in issues or orders of protection? Strapped for color, beyond dignity, I bought something with all the ways we make do, and the formality made me feel special, kept the calculus of my Instagram intact. I cleave to the modernist in me and approach a kind of feeling. Commercial gestures in place of a narrative, or I tally the jazz in my syllables and someone runs me funds for my disclosure. T says poems are what our brain does outside the task of survival, and it's tricky, if you've survived, to settle the beauty in it. Cool. I will be half eaten my entire life, featuring Tango. The day was devoid of coercion, and it was good, except for the shape of it. Dawn hems in faltered fathers, artificial and assembled, to pass time refusing to die. Sometimes there is study. Sometimes we make it downtown. Isopropyl lined anecdotes and your blighted verbs. Talent kept it eponymous. The abattoir just makes it interesting. I ceased witness the same day as the recycling, predictably fraught and avant-garde like no one requests. Know nothing of the poem beyond amenity, stuffed full of cells, prepositions, of light opinions, and thereby professional. Upset even. Look how it undulates through my application. Over our antecedents until obsession starts. Where the gates close and I fail to understand. Have I made a case for elegance yet? A mesmerizing language for crisis. Suffering rhetorical, I obtund through humiliation as the grass wrestles. This is a sonnet. When I think of the noble past breakfast, I get bored. Low budget Bushwick dads beckon when Amsterdam seems most distant. An origin story is hunger. The rest, chronology, tourniquets my traumas into narrative. I'm a nuanced prize. While remorseless, generally devastated, I take walks. Stay cute in a failed logic of endurance. Cock my head skyward to imagined sycamores. A smize underwhelms the drama of fucking strangers for subjectivity. Really, it's pleasant work. Requirements allegedly pink, mostly puckered. Poetics of a power bottom. Slant-rhymed motherfucker dipped in occasional gold. It's here I tower, like a quirk, I'm told. A bonus track abad, the kind where they forget to name her. Let's see that. This is after Lorna Simpson and specifically gestures, reenactments. The poem comes from a line that is in the artwork. Support Black artists, support Black women. Sometimes it stands like a mother. Of course, the referent is a closed fist. Excuse me. I am often struck dumb with the purpose of metaphor. Tucked away in my undone logic is a serious question of order. Incentive for a body to do and do and do until it doesn't. They say it was simply a gesture to what I wanted. That one hand on the hip suggests joy. I was enigmatic, at least for a camera. Imagination has yet to resolve the futility in a name. Rage counts as a kind of production, capacity dying inside the frame. And oh, the room. No genius, Jesus, just hyphenate longings, an undefined revulsion. Is it clear now? Whatever invades me ripens. Cool, we haven't done one of these in a while. Ganymede and Olympus. Of course, I mean to stay here, violated but competent. Fancy nigga tendencies keeping me warm at night. I amuse myself with loneliness. Armed, all my animal songs dispersed before the day. Not attention, just the interior of attention. Memory can sometimes have a sickening bend towards the noble. Me, I'm slinging fictions, deaf to the summit of my myths. I'm told there are only two plots, ambition and the rest, of course, is deliberate. Last poem. 2020 has been weird, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here in all the ways that that can be said and held. Yeah, call someone you love. You know, do some risky shit. Like live. You know, it's a good time to do it. Last poem. Watching Paul Mooney hum Amazing Grace post 9/11 while eating hot wings from Crown Pride. Don't try this at home by yourself. We're at war and I'm American again, sleeping at 8 like shit. New, visibly cankered, coy, mythologies locked in before morning coffee. There's an order to this. A working list of what keeps my teeth white. Dick, chicken, everything but solitude. It's unbearable. 12 niggas going to flight school bad. And repercussion is so certain, but you knew that. Peep the joke hiding. I leave him a blues and he leaves me for dead. Who's to say about being pathetic, yet functional? You got shoes, I got shoes, so I suppose we should be intimate. Maybe just moan at our echoes. It's mostly productive with a punchline involved. I haven't smirked in weeks. Thank y'all so much. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Jayson. Thank you so much. Our next performance is coming from Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade is an icon, an iconoclast, a performer, an essayist, a critic, and a treasure to our cultural community. She's been making work for more than 50 years, and in 2010, Semiotext published a collection of her work. That book includes an important and extensive interview with Penny and Chris Kraus, who I think as Monday Night Curator brought in Penny Arcade for her first poetry project performance. She holds us to the fire. Welcome, Penny Arcade.
Myself. Hi. Where am I? Kyle?
You're live, Penny.
Okay. Hey, I thought I was going to see myself on the big screen. I just see the poetry project, but that's fine because it is true that the poetry project has been part of my life since I was just before I turned 19, and Patti Smith brought me to the poetry project to see John Giorno, and that changed my life forever. And it's also true that I was just writing today to Chris Kraus because I was at a performance at the Poetry Project, a Monday night performance, and I hated the performance so much. I was walking around in the outside, smoking cigarettes furiously and complaining. And Chris came over to me. She said, "Wow, you really hated the performance, huh?" I said, "Yes." I said, "I can't believe those people, like, really." And she said, "Why don't you do a performance?" And I said, "What would I do?" And she said, "Well, I hear you write your own pieces in other people's plays." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, why don't you just come and do a piece about how much you hated this piece?" And that started me making my own work. I had been really holding back. I was 34 and I'd been performing since I was 17. So the Poetry Project is such an important part of my life. And I do really implore people who are listening to donate to the Poetry Project at this very difficult time. I'm speaking to you from the threshold of my 70s, which is like floating down a lazy river towards some inevitability that I've stopped worrying about. It's so different from my 60s, which were rambunctious and marked by a kind of almost adolescent teenage energy, which were also so different from my 50s, which rang with a sense of mastery and anticipation. And that was so different from my 40s, which held a kind of dignified sense of arrival. And that was so different from my 30s, which were driven by an urgent sense of investigation, which was so different from my 20s, which were all about picking up clues and trying to put puzzle pieces together that just didn't fit. So different from my teens, where I hopped from crisis to realization, to crisis to realization, to crisis to realization, to crisis. And I'm back where I started with crisis, except it's not my crisis. It's not my personal crisis. It's the crisis of the world. Right now, tonight, the great theater maker and poet, Lee Brewer, is laying in the hospital, getting ready to be brought in hospice to his home, and he is dying. And he is a remarkable person, and there are so many remarkable people who are among us and who come before us and come after us. And to me, it's all about lineage, and the Poetry Project is all about lineage. And I think it's something that's misunderstood and not appreciated, how lineage nurtures you. So I decided I was going to do an old piece of mine. I'm going to do two pieces quickly. So this piece I took from when I was at McDowell, the only residency I had. I mean, so there's me, 65 years old. This is like 5 years ago. at my first residency, and I get there and it's like all these like young poets, and we won't go into it, but you know, they were like 20 and they're at McDowell, you know, and Sarah Schulman had said, "Oh, Penny, you know, it's so prestigious, you know." And I was like, okay. But what started to happen to me as I walked around McDowell was people were talking to me, and I didn't really understand right away what it was, but eventually what I understood it to be was it was disembodied voices of all the poets who had been at McDowell. And that's what dead poets do. They become inspiration in the air. And I somehow was taken up by this poet named Eleanor Wiley. And Eleanor Wiley was like the most famous poet in the early 1900s, like 1910, 1920. You know, she was like the Patti Smith of that period. She was on the radio. She was so important, and she is so forgotten. Let that be a lesson. But I ended up doing a collaboration with Eleanor Wiley, and I'm going to do it. And I'm doing it right now, ringing. You know, there's been so much loss this year, and so many friends of mine have died. And the great John Giorno passed a year and a half ago. And well, I guess it was a year ago, October. And now Lee Brewer lays in active dying. When I died on Avenue C, I remember well, I had lights at head and feet and a passing bell. Won't you see that my grave is kept clean? When I died on 6th Street, I was saying my prayers. There I died all alone, up 5 flights of stairs. Won't you see that my grave is kept clean? When I died on 9th Street in an old house tall, I know the tapestry was torn and hanging from the wall. Won't you see that my grave is kept clean? Have you ever heard that coffin sound? Have you ever heard that coffin sound? Have you ever heard that coffin sound? Means that one more soul's going in the ground. When I died near Tompkins Park, the small goal that I had surrounded me with kith and kin, kith and kin, kith and kin. The small goal that I had, I died stark mad. When I died on Stanton Street in the bend of your arm, there I died merrily, comforted and warm. I'm gonna take it on myself. I said I take it on myself. I take it and I take it and I take it on myself. Like Colette and Frida Kahlo, Valley Myers and Positano, Joan of Arc and Bellatero. Well, they took it on themselves. They took it on themselves. They took it and they took it and they took it on themselves. All those ones who was so brave, all the ones who made me safe, they're all rotting in their graves. I gotta take it on myself. Take it on myself. Take it on myself. I was 13 when I started, ran away and I departed from that town where I was martyred. See, I took it on myself. I took it on myself. On the city streets I landed, all alone, but soon I banded with lost souls and other holies. We were scared, but we moved boldly. See, we took it on ourselves. We took it on ourselves. We took it and we took it and we took it on ourselves. We were tough, not hard, not bitter. Life was bleak, so we wore glitter. We were outcasts with grace granted. We were used but empty-handed. We understood that we were stranded, so we took it on ourselves. We took it on ourselves. We took it and we took it and we took it on ourselves. All those ones who were so brave, all the ones who made us safe, they're all rotting in their graves. We gotta take it on ourselves. Take it on ourselves. Take it on ourselves. Jackie Curtis and Jack Smith, Marsha Johnson, Quentin Crisp, Peter Hujar, Harry Smith, they took it on themselves. They took it on themselves. They took it and they took it and they took it on themselves. All those ones who was so brave, all the ones who made us safe, they're all rotting in their graves. We gotta take it on ourselves. Take it on ourselves, like George Sand and Phulon Devi, Dorothy Day and Hannah Wilkie, Emma Goldman and St. Lucie. They took it on themselves. They took it on themselves. They took it and they took it and they took it on themselves. Now the life I live is a myth. Most are dead and I'm stuck with the ones who marginalize and copy, who want to erase the history, who don't understand the story, not the pain and not the glory, because they never had to take it on themselves. Well, tonight we are all here. I hope this scene goes on for years. That's the truth and that's the beauty of how you do your duty to yourself and your community. When you take it on yourself, you take it on yourself. You take it. You take it. You take it on yourself. Happy New Year. I can't believe you have COVID.
Penny.
I can't believe you have COVID.
You didn't tell me that, Kyle.
Yes. All right. Pamela Sneed is up next. Pamela Sneed is a poet, recent New York Times notable essayist, teacher, mentor, friend, daughter, fellow Leo, and a true keeper of history. Pamela's been an Emerge Surface B mentor with the Poetry Project. Her most recent book is Funeral Diva, and I'm so grateful. She's going to bring us to the cusp of midnight. Welcome, Pamela Sneed.
I am honored to be here. Everything's so moving already. And I want to, give a shout out to the Poetry Project again under Kyle's leadership. I mean, it's just been fantastic. It's keeping poets alive and it's keeping us going. And if you can make a contribution, please do anything, $5, $10, or, $200. All right. That they would sit on a man's neck till his body, breath, spirit gave out, that they rendered him inaudible, voiceless, that 8 minutes passed, 8 minutes, 46 seconds. It took days and citizens' uprisings for the police officers involved to be arrested, that the news showed that one officer casually sitting on the Black man's neck, as if the man below were a deer, mountain grizzly, a bounty, trophy subdued, until there was no wrestling, no life left, that the great AIDS activist Larry Kramer would die days later, that we all owe him something of our lives, that his memorial went on, that the chat closed before I could say again, thank you, Larry Kramer, keep fighting, before I could type George Floyd's name in the chat box, say the two were connected in the struggle for human rights. Based on keen observation and lived almost scientific experience, I've surmised from everyone, regardless of color, that the popular phrase Black Lives Matter only applies when it's people you don't know, like Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and countless cis and trans women. Black people who are known get familial type treatment, particularly from white friends who continue to talk over you, doubt your lived experiences, ignored and minimized or denied. They constantly insert their perceived innate superiority, constantly competing. Perhaps it's unconscious because everyone's internalized, particularly other Blacks, that we can't earn and deserve nice things. Reminds me of the complaints I've heard from every major movement, those who gave their lives to save others, but neglected partners, spouses, children. Makes me think of when I visited the Apartheid Museum in South Africa, and I read that the whole of the movement was fought so that Black kids could look in the mirror and feel good about who they were. Reminds me of how easily personal details get lost in the pursuit of bigger pictures. That said, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower and Earthseed as an example, using them as a template where God is protean, ever-changing action, I propose Black Lives Matter no longer be used as a statement, but becomes practice, pedagogy, a methodology, means of examination, a 10-point plan where our eyes and lenses are trained to scrutinize and ensure Black lives really do matter. It's like living in an old house where now the floorboards, piping, very ground must be replaced, which is not to say Black Lives Matter can't also function as an important statement. I can't tell you what it's like to visit some suburbs, known Trump land, where red, white, and blue American flags decorate every lawn, but in one single solitary window, there's a sign written on brown cardboard in Black letters that says, Black Lives Matter. It's like that candle in the window of an abolitionist signaling to a runaway, there's safety to be found there. And I don't know if I have time to do one more. What time is it? What's our time? Okay, I might have to rush, but here we go, up into the midnight hour, a tale of two pandemics. The headline in yesterday's news blared a tale of two pandemics, shocking inequities in the healthcare system. What got me was the use of the word shocking and two. Those of us who lived through the 1980s, early 90s AIDS crisis already knew about the existence of two New Yorks, two 20, 30, 40, 50 Americas, maybe more, depending on age, race, class, citizenship status, entirely different systems for those who aren't white, straight, middle class. Those of us who saw our brothers, friends, sisters die at the hands of a system that shunned, refused to treat, threw away the unwanted. Still can't forget a gay friend waiting for Medicaid to treat HIV. He got sicker and sicker. I asked why Medicaid took so long. He said they're waiting to see if I'll die first. That wasn't the America that I learned about in elementary school. I was instructed to put my hand over my heart and salute. This wasn't the free America we sang of. People who are LGBTQIA already know that there are two Americas. A doctor who kept forcing me to take a pregnancy test, even after I insisted at the time, I only have sex with women. Still, I saw his scorn, a test he made me pay for. And then those women who were forcibly sterilized had wombs, their life force taken, left dry, barren by doctors who never even stopped to explain, felt entitled to take, scar women's bodies, breasts cut off, no options or consolation given. Women who aren't rich and white already know invisible lines you can't cross without insurance or Medicaid, forced into black markets for drugs, a land of botched care, botched procedures. Black people already know separate doors, separate entrances, treatments, options, existing long after Jim Crow. And I have kept waiting for this moment, this time of a medical Me Too, when those who suffered from botched procedures and the indignities step from the shadows and speak and name the atrocities committed, medical malpractice. I won't blame all doctors, some are good, just middlemen like so many in a broken system doing what they can. And I'm grateful for the good ones in this pandemic risking their own lives. But the image of medical researchers that we see in movies and on television who understand a complex problem, pour through medical books and science journals, stay up all night burning midnight oil to find a cure, who weep with concern, are mostly false, rare like the ones who find cures and refuse to patent or personally profit. Those days have become a myth. What's replaced them are businessmen wanting status amongst peers, entry to country clubs and power, gaslighters, hustlers, actors like Trump. There is a doctor at Mount Sinai, star of his field, charged with drugging and raping his patients. No one believed it until it was proven. His victims were only Black women. The rest he left alone. Happy New Year, everybody. A tale of two pandemics.
Thank you, Pamela. All right, I'm back by candlelight. And the reason is because, like I said, we originally would have been in St. Mark's. I think it's important to have something spectacular and special, even if we can't be in the church. My colleagues are telling me that since the broadcast has started, we've raised about $3,000. From the beginning of the broadcast to now, in the hour that we've been together, we've raised about $3,000. We've got maybe 700 folks tuned in right now across all platforms. If just half of the people tuned in gave $5, we could reach another $1,000 in the first few minutes of the new year in New York City. So I'm hoping that some of you might feel compelled to give if you haven't already. If you have given, maybe you can help us reach this first part of our goal for the beginning of the new year. I want to thank so much again all of our performers who've shared work so far tonight: Diamanda Galas, Banu Kapil, Morgan Bassichis, Yoshiko Chuma and Dane Terry, Jayson P. Smith, Penny Arcade, Pamela Sneed. Listen, we can't do a midnight countdown exactly because where I'm speaking to you from has a little bit of a lag in time to the broadcast, so it's not going to be exact, but I am going to propose something, which is I'm going to blow out my candle at some point. And when I blow out my candle, I want to encourage you to make a wish for the new year. So if you'll join me, I think that we're getting close to midnight now. I'm going to take a second.
Yay!
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year!
I think now we're switching over to, we've got another hour. Well, we're about to head into our late night part of the broadcast, which is the fun, funky, rowdy, dangerous, sexy, gorgeous part of our broadcast. Not that those things are not going to appear later on in this 24-hour extravaganza as well. But let me see. The folks we've got coming up in this hour include, we have videos and performances coming from Kaylin Nardone, Wo Chan, Rachel Rabbit White, Ariel Goldberg, Don Paz, Jess Barbagallo, and Chris Giarmo, Danilo Machado, Aisha Sasha John, Jose Olivares, Mai C. Dewan, Gabriel Cruz, Alexandra Tatarsky, Silky Shoemaker, Max Crandall with Julie Moon, Joss Charles, and P Splash Collective. That's our midnight to 1 a.m. hour. I'm sending all of you wishes for peace and care and love and strength in this new year that we're heading into. I want to thank our performers again. I want to thank all of our staff and technicians who are making this possible. And I want to thank the hundreds of people who are tuning in from all over the world right now to make this event possible. And I'm going to turn things over now to the beginning of our midnight to 1 a.m. hour.